What the heck? So, okay. So, welcome to Lasers, Dragons, and Keyboards. I'm Liberty Spidell.
I'm Josh Hart.
I'm not awake yet. I seem to be using that one a little too often.
Yeah, these 9 a.m. shows are killer on you, and you're on the East Coast, so it's 10 a.m.
And I work second shift in the day job too, so.
Oh dear.
Yes.
So, well, today
I'm here staring out into space. That's why. Anyway, go ahead.
Today we have with us A. Walker Scott, and it's great to have you on the show today.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us.
Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Well, I'm A. Walker Scott. I am a lifelong fan of science fiction. I have my first novel coming out on the 15th of this month. It's called No Road Among the Stars, and it's the first of a series.
Awesome. So we like to start out our shows with 3 rapid-fire questions.
Okay.
What is your name? What is your quest? And what is your favorite color?
Well, my favorite color is purple. My name is A. Walker Scott, and my quest, to boldly go where no linguist has gone before.
Ooh.
We haven't gotten that answer. Awesome. All right, Aaron.
Okay, I was going to say, what order are we in? Because the document I'm looking at doesn't show Josh on here, so. And also, it's not updated. So tell us a little bit.
We're professionals, guys.
Oh, what? Us? No.
We're professionals, guys. All right.
Anyway, can you tell us a little bit about Road Among the Stars? Or No Road Among the Stars, sorry. That first word is kind of important.
Yeah, yeah, it is. Well, it's a science fiction novel set at an interstellar university. David Asbury is a human student who's fascinated by linguistics, who's forced by his scholarship to study diplomacy instead of linguistics. He ends up having to navigate cultures and personalities and gets him way over his head. This is not a shoot-'em-up, high-adventure novel. It's a story about people, whether they're humans or aliens, and how they navigate their own lives.
That
Sounds
sounds
interesting.
really cool. Yeah. So what made you write No Road Among the Stars?
Well, it's been living in my brain for a very, very long time. Since the early 90s.
Wow. I just have to say, wow. I've got characters that have been living in my head about that long.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
I made the first attempt at writing what eventually became this novel back in the early 90s when I was an undergrad student, and it was pretty awful. It was a pretty terrible attempt, and I gave up on it, put it away, and came back to it several times over the years and still didn't know what I was doing with the book, why it wasn't working. And then eventually it clicked. I realized I had been trying to start the story way too early. I had been trying to start it on David's first day at the university and make the story about it wasn't about beginnings, it was about endings. And so the story actually starts in his last semester. Couple of semesters.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a definite shift.
Yeah. I have always been fascinated with languages and cultures, and at in college, I had lots of friends from other countries: Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, Taiwan, Cameroon, South Africa, Lebanon, Hungary, Finland, everywhere. And all of those relationships kind of helped to inspire this book in one way or another.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. So do you speak more than one language yourself, or?
I do. As I said earlier, I spent 3 years in Taiwan, so I speak Mandarin Chinese.
Nice.
I have done some interpreting in ASL.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I've taken Spanish classes, and I know enough Spanish to really make a fool of myself.
I know enough Spanish to say shoes.
While I was in Taiwan, I met a group of deaf Taiwanese and became friends with them, and so I learned Taiwan Sign Language there.
Oh, cool.
I've been back home 15 years now, and I don't really remember much of anything of the language because I have not had an opportunity to use it at all since then.
Oh, man.
But at one time, I was fluent enough to have lengthy, hours-long conversations in the language.
Oh, wow.
I'm really
Wow.
sad that I don't remember any more of it than I do now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I suspect that there are some definite differences. I've taken a little bit of sign language, enough to make a fool of myself. And I know that there's a difference depending on the country.
Yeah. Several sign languages are pretty closely related to each other. American Sign Language, French Sign Language, Italian, Russian Sign Language, they're all pretty closely related. Taiwan Sign Language, not. It is also not related to Chinese Sign Language, but it does seem to have at least some connection to Japanese Sign Language.
That's interesting.
Uh-huh. One sign I do remember, American Sign Language, this is God. In Taiwan Sign Language, this is God.
Interesting.
American Sign Language, brother.
Yep.
Taiwan Sign Language, older brother, younger brother.
Oh, okay.
So very, very different.
Yeah.
Cool. So getting back to No Road Among the Stars, what was the best part of writing this book for you as the author?
Getting to know the characters, getting to interact with them, spend time with some imaginary people that I found really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was the best part of it to me.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron?
Just a minute. Josh is Facebooking, so now I gotta
Ignore
read
Josh.
Yeah,
Ignore
knock it
Josh.
off. You're distracting me.
I am not. All
Speaking
right.
of characters, do you have a favorite character, and if so, who and why?
My favorite character has to be Tikal. He is David's roommate. He's the leader of the group that David gets assigned to work on a diplomacy project. He's an alien from Fern. He's Fernell. Fernon, and he's grown up on Earth, so he's very in tune with human cultures, and he's just this wild, over-friendly, very gregarious guy that overwhelms David and kind of drives him nuts. But they end up as friends anyway. Because David's really reserved and very shy and just really doesn't like people. So he ends up with the most over-friendly guy you ever met.
Doesn't like people to sign to diplomacy. What could possibly go wrong?
Opposites attracting, right?
I can see the Buddy Cop spinoff already.
All right,
Nice.
side question here. So you said this character is really in tune with different Earth cultures. In your books, do the alien worlds, are they more like Star Wars or Star Trek, where there's one planetary culture, or are there different cultures among the different alien worlds as well?
There are different cultures on the different worlds. I don't go into that a whole lot because I'm mostly focused on whichever main representative character from World X, and that character's culture. But I do mention the fact that there are other languages on their home planets. I do have two Trelcarni characters who are from different cultures on their home world. Some of the planets have more cultural diversity than others. Some of them have, purposefully suppressed cultural diversity on their home worlds and attempted to enforce a kind of uniformity that it's not exactly healthy, but
Huh. Interesting. Yeah. So what's something that the readers of No Road Among the Stars would be surprised to know either about you or about the book itself?
Something that would be surprising to know about either the book or about me. I don't really know how to answer that question.
Some people have, made comments about, a hobby that you wouldn't necessarily associate, or
yeah. Well, people who know me aren't going to be surprised by anything. But I guess you probably don't expect science fiction writers to also be messianic dance choreographers.
That's different.
Yeah.
That is.
Or to have competed in the North Dakota State Arm Wrestling Championship.
Okay, that's pretty awesome.
I did a fire truck pull for charity.
That works.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm weird. I'm eclectic. I do this. I do that.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that.
Nope.
If we were all the same, we would all be boring.
Yep.
So everybody answers yep.
Yep.
Hey! One of my favorite scenes.
So, Adam, do you feel that this book had to be written in its particular setting? And if so, why? And second part of the question is, how would a setting change have changed the book as a whole?
I'll start with the second part of that.
Okay.
Changing the setting would have created a completely different story.
Okay.
For this story to be this story, it had to happen at the university.
Okay.
And the university had to be on a space station not on anybody's home planet, or else the culture of that world would have taken over the story.
Mm.
Putting it on a space station out in the beyond,
Right.
allowed everybody's cultures to interact more or less equally. And, it's not a human dominant environment. It's not a Gravgordon dominant environment. It's not a dominant environment.
That makes a lot of sense, really, when you think about it. So,
It does.
so, Aaron?
Oh, where are we here? Here we go. Sorry, I'm falling asleep as we speak.
I think you need to get up after you ask this question and go get a cup of Earl Grey.
That's probably not a bad idea. Well, the problem is I work second shift, so I get out at midnight, and it's about an hour drive home, and I probably shouldn't have stayed up watching anime for an hour last night. And anyway, that's a lovely little sideshow that'll hopefully get edited out later.
No.
So, what's your favorite scene in the? No. People are going to be watching the live versions of this and comparing it to the edited versions, going, "Wow, people are crazy." Nobody doesn't get anywhere near enough credit for editing this shit. I mean, like, the other two guys are insane. How does she put up with it? So,
Anyways,
back to our question. What's your favorite scene in the book? And if you can, try to describe it without spoilers. So that's your difficulty rating for that question.
Okay. There is a scene fairly early in the book. Tikal, who I talked about earlier, the one who's the leader of the pod, the group that David's assigned to, he has all the various members of the pod get together semi-regularly for culture exchanges, where they share different parts of their culture with each other to foster understanding among the different species in the group. And the first one that David agrees to attend is focused on literature. And Tikal and David have this small argument about whether or not David is going to attend. And Tikal more or less tells him, "You either attend, or I'm going to come in here and carry you out there over my shoulder like a sack of potatoes."
Oh, wow.
And show up with a book ready to share, and no Shakespeare. So David agrees to come and shares Hamlet.
I think that's Shakespeare.
Yeah, that is Shakespeare.
Here's the soliloquy, to be or not to be, the most famous part of the story. And in discussing the culture behind that scene, an argument between two of the others in the group turns physical.
Oh man!
Oh joy!
Wow.
Ends up with knives drawn.
Oh, awesome.
Over Hamlet?
Yes, from Hamlet.
Oh my gosh!
Because of culture clashes.
That seems rather fitting, actually.
So I really enjoyed writing that scene.
I think I would have enjoyed writing that scene as well.
Yeah. So, what's an interesting thing you had to Google or research in the course of writing No Road Among the Stars? And were you surprised by the answer?
I think that somewhere along the way of researching and writing this book, I Googled every topic in human knowledge, just everything. One thing that I remember Googling and researching was alternate blood chemistries.
Oh, wow.
Blood chemistry is not based on iron.
Ooh.
And one of the surprising things that I learned there is that copper-based blood is a real thing. You know, Mr. Spock is supposed to have copper-based blood.
I was going to say, yeah, among Vulcans, sure.
On planet Earth, squids and cuttlefish and some other related animals have copper-based blood, but it's not green.
Interesting.
It's blue.
I did not know that.
Huh.
Green blood does exist, but it's vanadium-based, not copper-based. So that rabbit hole turned up some very interesting trivia, and then I decided against the plot point that was supporting, and so all
man,
got relegated to back brain storage.
Nice. I would really like to know how that was relevant to your story, but I'm afraid that might be a really long bunny trail.
You can post the deleted scene on the website later.
So now it's time for the random geeky question of the day. Who has the D6?
I do, and it came up a 6.
Okay, then it is our listener question from. I'm blanking on who's asked this originally.
I think Cindy did originally.
Yeah,
Cindy Cap.
Yeah, Cindy Cap. Okay, so Cindy, big shout out to you for asking this, and it's been our long-standing random listener question. Which Muppet is most like you, Adam?
I don't know which Muppet is most like me, but I do a really mean Swedish chef.
Epic.
You do make the music, the chocolate and the
If I need to distract my 7-year-old son, I will pull Swedish Chef videos up on YouTube.
Yes.
The popcorn shrimp one is just epic.
Oh.
No, the best one is the cooking battle between the Swedish Chef and Gordon Ramsay.
Oh, I need to see that one.
Okay, I know what I'm doing when we're done with this.
The one where he's shooting the pancakes off the ceiling.
I know what I'm doing after this podcast.
Yes, exactly.
I know what I'm doing after this podcast, and unfortunately, it's not watching Swedish Chef videos. My to-do list is too long. So,
where were we again?
I think we are hopping down.
No, number 10.
Oh, okay.
So I think that's Aaron.
Oh, okay. I got distracted.
Yeah, Swedish Chef is good distraction.
Yes.
Anyway, are there any authors that you'd recommend?
That question is terrible.
Isn't it, though?
Yes.
There's only one worse question, and that's what's your favorite book?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. In genre, out of genre?
Whichever.
I think I've recommended Jane Austen before. So.
I came up with a list that's almost a page long.
How about the top 3 off that list?
3 off that list. Lois McMaster Bujold. John Milton.
Okay.
And the Chinese poet Du Fu.
That is
an eclectic mix.
A very eclectic mix.
Yes.
If you wanted me to throw in a third one, I would say John Julius Norwich, who writes histories of places like Sicily and the Byzantine Empire.
Ooh.
Ooh. think we might need a copy of your list. Add it to the list.
Yeah, I think. Okay, so we're going to shift into the writer portion of the show. So the first part was for our readers more than our writers, but I know all of our writers are readers too. So so we're going to shift over there. So Josh has the first question of this section.
I do?
Apparently. The color coding doesn't say that, but somebody
says it on the it says it on the master list.
Oh, what one are we looking at then? Because I must be looking at the old version. We'll sort that out later.
We'll figure it out. All right. So, Adam, are you a plotter or a pantser?
I am a absolutely committed pantser.
Like you do no plotting whatsoever?
As far as outlining or anything, no. I have an idea in my head that's usually the first scene, and I sit down and I start writing it.
Oh, wow.
I probably know who several of the major characters are before I start, but all the other characters just walk onto the page at some point, and then I have to figure out who they are and where they came from.
Oh, wow.
Stream fancy.
Which often also includes figuring out what species they're from.
Yeah, that would happen if you're writing space opera.
Yeah, wow.
So, what does your writing process look like then?
Messy?
No doubt.
Like I said, usually the story starts with the first scene, and I'll write that until the ideas dry up, and then I will hopefully have another idea about some other part of the story. I'll jump to that and start writing that section of the story, and then I will have another idea and write that, and when I've got a whole collection of these, then I lay them all out, figure out what order they go in, and start filling in the holes.
Ugh, that's a lot of editing. I hate editing.
Editing is a pain.
You know, some people say that when they're total on pantsers like that, that your first draft actually becomes your outline.
That's not really true for me.
Really?
My second draft usually is more adding description and shoveling more plot into the holes in between spaces.
Yeah, I can relate. I used to write that way. I don't anymore. I have to be able to produce a little bit faster, so I have to outline.
Oh, what's this fast writing you're talking about?
I know, right?
I've had books out for 4 years. I have to at least try to get books out quicker for the people that want them.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Aaron, I think you're up next.
It does, but then nobody's quit talking. Does that make it a word in edgewise yet?
You still haven't gotten your tea.
My red swing line stapler.
I understood that reference.
So how long does it take you to knock out a draft altogether, roughly?
My first draft usually takes about a month. Most of my first drafts have been done during November for NaNoWriMo. So usually the first draft is about a month.
Interesting. So if you can knock them out in a month, how many do you have in your backlist ready to go?
Well, this is my first one that I've finished.
Mm-hmm.
Book 2 and 3 in this series are, I have first drafts of them. I haven't yet had time to progress them further.
Hey, you know what? I think all of us can relate.
But I know where the story's going for books 2 and 3, and I have a fourth novel that is completely unrelated to these. It's still science fiction, but it's completely unrelated to these.
Mm-hmm.
That has been set aside for quite some time, but I'm really thinking I would like to get back to it.
Nice.
All right.
Gosh.
Oh, it's me. When you sit down to write, what software do you prefer to use?
I don't like software. I like to do my first draft with pen and paper.
Oh,
wow.
nice.
Wow.
I handwrite my scenes, and then I just type them up in open office.
Wow.
I tried using YWriter for one novel, and I just didn't like the way it affected my process.
Really?
It still allowed me to write completely out of order and glue things together as I went, but staring at the keyboard just was kind of sterile.
Mm.
Huh.
Sometimes getting out and writing, I mean, I even do it. Sometimes I need to get away from the computer, so I'll handwrite scenes. So
Yeah,
I
there's a couple
understand.
people that do that. If I ever tried that, I'd be looking at that like 10 minutes later going, what?
It's hieroglyphics.
What letter is that?
That is
Better, but still.
danger. My handwriting can be hieroglyphic.
You don't have your own handwriting, you have your own font.
Oh, that's
Yes.
that's it. Mhm.
Yeah, my font
I
is
like that. I want to
illegible.
feel that.
Yeah, my font name is illegible.
My name is Wiggles.
I think mine is chaos.
Chaos.
So, how do you organize and keep track of your research?
I'm guessing file cabinet.
No. Well, yeah. File cabinet, manila folders with photocopies of magazine articles, folders on my desktop full of PDFs, and some of it I read it and then I don't keep a copy. I just let it marinate in the back of my brain somewhere and come back out as whatever it comes out as.
Interesting.
It's not a bad way of doing it.
No, not at all. So, I know some authors we've had on have said that they find a little nugget that they need and they go research it right then that's the extent of their research. And sometimes that makes sense, and sometimes doing it the way that you do it makes sense too.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when you're trying to blow up a star and you're trying to find some little bit of physics that at least sounds plausible, making a sun-sized star explode ahead of schedule.
Yeah, that.
I have to do a little research.
Yeah.
No, you just invent a ship called a sun crusher and leave it all up to Waving physics.
Medium.
And Wavian, yes.
Well, it's still going to be Handwavium, but I want it to be pseudo-plausible Handwavium.
That's fair.
Oh, I saw a post on Facebook the other day comparing the science of Star Trek, Stargate, and Star Wars.
Yeah, I love that.
Oh, I need to see that.
I saw that too, and I was like, are you kidding me?
I was reading it going, yeah, that sounds about right.
Star Trek is so super plausible. Really?
Well, compared to the other two.
It was a gaseous anomaly. It was a temporal anomaly. It was make up a word anomaly.
It was an anomalous anomaly.
Yeah.
All right, Aaron, I think it's yours.
Mine? Okay. I didn't think it was mine. So where do you go to edit, and do you do any self-editing?
I do a lot of self-editing. I go, as each draft, I go through and edit whatever I can find of my own garbage. But I have an editor that I go to fix what I don't find. And her name is Catherine Fraser, and she's fantastic.
So shout out to Catherine.
Yes.
And if you can send us a link to her services, we'll be sure to put it in our show notes.
Okay.
No, people will have to Google it themselves.
No, we're going to be nice. We're nice people here.
Wow.
Have you met us, Liberty? No, I'm kidding.
Okay, I'm nice.
So, do you get writer's block? And if so, how do you deal with it?
I do. And the way I usually deal with it is by jumping to a different part of the story.
Nothing wrong with that.
Just go to some other part of the story and start up there, and eventually I'll figure out what was wrong with that scene and go back to it.
That's a good way to do it.
Yeah, when you write out of order like that, that's nice that you can do that. So
Yeah.
I must be slightly too OCD to write out of order.
yeah, most of the time I write too linearly to do that. So, but I used to do it. So when you sit down to write, what snacks or beverages are must-haves?
I don't have any must-haves. When I'm really in the zone writing, I forget things like eating and drinking.
You're not the first.
I will suddenly realize I have this splitting headache. Why does my head hurt? Oh, you know what? I haven't drunk anything all day today. That might be it.
That could do it.
Yeah, that would.
But, if I'm going to like an all-night ride-in or something, sugar.
Yeah. Yeah, sugar's kind of good to keep the creative well going.
And anything with lots of spice in it.
Ooh.
So, those little Thai candies that are the tamarinds coated in sugar and chili powdered chilies. Yeah. You get some sour, you get some sweet, and you get a burst of flame.
Oh, man.
Wow.
I can honestly say I've not had the pleasure of trying that, but given that you're from Texas, maybe that you live in the right area of the world.
Yeah.
Yep. So, do you listen to music while you write? And if so, what kind of music do you listen to?
I don't usually listen to music when I'm writing. But when I do, classical, movie scores, and sometimes world music, folk music from other countries, as long as I don't understand the language.
That's
Oh,
understandable.
okay.
If there are words there that I understand, my mind's on the words, and nothing usable is happening at the keyboard.
That's fair.
Yep.
Yeah, I sometimes, most of the time, I don't mind what I listen to when I write. I've written to like Led Zeppelin and Metallica before, but there's a Accu Radio. It's kind of like Pandora. They have a video game station, and that's been really nice to listen to. So getting video game soundtracks, and I don't play video games, so I don't. It's like, okay, I don't care, but it's been really nice to listen to sometimes. So you might give that a try.
What
What are you doing, Aaron?
What, me?
Yes.
I don't know. I'm standing here. Why?
I have.
Was it you making that noise?
I don't know. I don't think I'm making it. I might be wiggling in my chair a bit much. I don't know.
I have I just want to give. Oh, there's the toll booth. I live next to a busy road, so I just want to throw out there the music from the video game Destiny 2. Amazing score, incredible. I'm gonna add it to my writing playlist.
Good to know.
Anyways, how did writing this book change you?
I don't think I really know. I'm sure it did because every experience changes you.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it made me more confident about writing. But other than that, I don't really have a good answer for the question. Sorry.
You know what? That's pretty fair. Sometimes it takes a long time to figure that out. So
Yeah. Someday I'll look back at this and have a real answer.
yeah. So I know that this is your debut book, but what do you have in place for your marketing strategy at this point?
Ha, I laugh at you.
Oh, the same strategy I'm using,
I am trying to figure that part out. My mind doesn't work that way.
Mm-hmm.
I hate being marketed to. I hate commercials. I hate flyers in the mail. I hate sale billboards. So I'm trying to figure that part out, how to do this well and how to get the message out there. Hey, there's this book, you might like it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really cool, but not be an annoying pain in the neck doing it.
Yeah.
And how to do it on a budget.
Yeah, the budget is really
If you
key.
get that figured out, let us know.
Yeah. Well, I've heard going on podcasts is a good way to do a little bit of marketing.
Yeah, I've
Yep. It's too bad we don't know of a good one.
I know a couple mediocre.
I have done a couple of interviews on blogs. I have my website. I took out a print ad in a local magazine.
Interesting.
I am doing this. I'm just kind of trying to explore and see what works. I've got a team of friends from my launch group that are helping me think of ways to get the word out, and
Okay.
Word of mouth.
Word of mouth is probably one of the best tools that you have at your advantage, honestly.
Definitely the most effective, yeah.
Yeah, people listen to their friends. So if I can get my friends to read it and they like it and they'll tell their friends, then maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe
If I can get both of my friends to read my book.
It's on my Kindle, I swear.
It's on the list, and the list is shortening. I promise you, for like a week, and then there will be more on the list.
On a slightly more serious note, I really have wanted to read No Road Among the Stars ever since I saw the cover. So,
yeah, I think probably that cover is the best marketing tool I have right now. That I love my cover. I think it's amazing.
I do too.
The designer and the artist that worked on that are really, really good.
Cool. And I must be the only one out of the loop because I don't think I've seen it.
What?
Yeah, I know. Apparently we're not friends yet.
Oh.
Posted on the consortium a couple times.
Yeah.
I must have missed it because I've been so busy.
I posted the ebook cover when it was ready, and I posted the mock-up of the paper cover.
Okay, I'm gonna go look for it real quick while we're sitting here. So,
You were just invited to the launch party.
Ah, okay.
And the launch party is
I should have
even
seen this.
cooler because I'm a great party planner.
So, Aaron, I think it's you're up.
Oh, okay. I got distracted by the kitty.
Okay.
She's wandering away now. Anyway, where are we at? Marketing practices. I'm just going to do number 12. Which fandom or fandoms do you feel have influenced your writing the most?
Probably. I don't know. It's hard to say. I really enjoy quite a number of fandoms. Maybe Babylon 5. And that's probably, I don't know how involved I am in any fandom. I just kind of participate from the edges.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like dive into them, but I do an almost yearly rewatch of Babylon 5, all 5 seasons.
Oh, wow.
I need to watch that show sometime. I've seen like 2 episodes, and they were from different seasons each, so it made no sense at all to me. So
that would not work with Babylon 5 because
I have heard you need to watch it in order. Yeah.
It's coming to Prime in the next week. All 5 seasons.
I thought it was there already.
Well, maybe it is.
I think it is.
Yeah, that's my plan for later today.
I'm starting to binge that. JMS talking about that on Twitter a few days ago.
If they get it on Netflix, that'd be nice.
But it's a very quotable show.
Well, we're gonna have to watch this now, Aaron, since it's on Prime.
I don't have a Prime account though.
It's amazing.
It is worth that $120 a year.
It is. So, we're gonna ask the evil question.
Uh-oh, I mentioned this earlier.
The evil.
Let's just skip it.
Okay, let's skip it.
No, we're not skipping it.
There's not a good answer.
What is your favorite book?
Told you.
The dictionary.
Ooh, that's a good answer, and we haven't got that one yet.
I like that. I like that bit right in the middle, right around J.
Oh.
I like the 4-letter ones.
Ooh, naughty.
You mean like love? Right?
That would work.
Yes.
Than.
Where were we again?
I think that's the funniest answer we've gotten.
I agree. Liberty, you're up.
Yeah. So, what's something that surprised you most about being an author?
That you are never, ever done with the book.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, man.
Stop, yes. But you're never done with it.
Yeah.
And even after you stop, you keep finding things.
I am convinced I could read my book a billion times, and every single time I would still find a minor typo somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not just that, but did I really want to name that character that? Should I check?
Mm-hmm.
Stop it.
Well, yeah, my big dilemma right now is I'm going through and re-releasing a new threat here shortly, and I gave some serious thought to, should I actually set it on an alternate planet and not in our particular metaverse? But it was like, oh, I'd have to do a lot of editing to fix that. But on the other hand, it'd tie in with my other books so much better. Like, I finally gave up because it'd be too much work, but
Yeah. I will say this. My first novella, Emergence, has been out for nearly 4 years now. And I'm giving some serious thought to doing some rewrites to actually lengthen it and make it maybe a short novel. And so, I mean, it's 4 years on, and I really have other projects I need to work on. But, I'm kind of thinking about it because that's one of the biggest complaints I've had about it is that it's so short.
but there's other books to go with it.
Just add more content later.
There you
Well,
go.
In fact, when is that next book releasing?
I'm hoping like October.
Now, see what you
Anyways.
do. What you do is you pull a Melville. You find a police academy handbook. You take a page of Emergence and a page of Academy Handbook, and go like that, and then you intersperse them. There we go. Melville.
There you go.
It worked for Moby Dick.
Yeah, seriously, I have a few ideas on how to make it longer that would be satisfying to the reader, but it's like, really, I have other things to work on.
Yep, so it's never done. You're right.
Yeah.
Aaron?
Oh, it's me again now. What's one piece of writing advice you would want to share with aspiring authors?
Stop planning and start writing.
That's good.
That's actually really good advice, yes.
It's people can plan their novels
Yeah.
to death, and if they never write a word on it, they're never going to get it done.
Exactly.
That was
Well,
great.
half
And
of it is the
succinct.
case, maybe.
You can always fix it later.
Amen to that.
Yep.
Yep,
You cannot edit a blank page.
Exactly.
What
true.
is it? There's a quote by somebody, something about no first drafts are ever any good, and I'm totally ruining it because I can't think of the exact quote or who said it. And
It's probably Stephen King. He's
probably.
Tosca Lee has a quote about something like that. Just remember that your first draft is just getting the words on the page. It's supposed to be trash. So something like that.
Yeah.
So what would you like to accomplish next? More than just the next book written, but like a long-term goal when it comes to your writing career?
I've given that question some thought, and I don't have a good answer. I want to tell stories. I guess I don't really think of this as a career. I'm never going to get rich on this. I'm never going to quit my day job.
Understood.
Get into the plural.
This is
Yeah.
this is always going to be something I do just because I love it, and I hope that other people will read my stories and love them too.
Mhm.
But I guess I don't have any big career goals because I just don't look at this as a career. This is just something I love.
That's fair.
It is. Yeah.
Some people just want to do it as a hobby or a side income, and that's totally fine. So some people
Yeah.
have loftier goals, and that's fine too. So Adam, where can our listeners go to learn more about you and your work?
Well, there's my website, awalkerscott.com. It's got some biographical information about me, some information about my novel, release dates. The cover's about to go live on the webpage. There is background information on the history of the Interstellar Commonwealth. And I am growing the pages about each of the alien languages, linguistic information about the languages, their grammars,
Ooh.
vocabularies, phonology, all the technical stuff that had no place in the book itself, but is part of the fun for me.
Yeah. And if you're not enjoying it,
yeah, hopefully if your readers are interested in your books, they should be interested in what the foundation for them is as well. So that's good.
And there's a little dorky blog on there.
Well, at least you admit it's dorky. I mean, some people.
Yeah, it's dorky.
Yeah. So, well, that brings us to the end of our show today. So we want to thank you again for coming on. We had a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was a great time.
I
So,
survived.
yeah, you did. You did
Yes.
great. So, yeah. So I don't know if we had any viewers today, but hopefully they will enjoy seeing this interview with you. So
Thank you.
You'll have to let us know when the next book comes out.
You'll have to come on and join us, and we can all be unprepared again.
Hopefully, by that point, we'll actually have this a little bit more figured out. We've been doing this for 2.5
we keep
years.
saying that.
The next book is called Words Like Leaves on the Wind.
Ooh,
Ooh.
that's a long title.
It is.
Yes.
Sounds interesting, though.
The third one makes up for it, Mirror of Lies.
That works.
Ah.
So well, again, thank you so much for coming on, and we're gonna say goodbye for now. So
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here.